Hello everyone, can you hear us? Before we start, can you just let us know how the mic volume is? So whether I'm okay, if I'm too high, too low. Let me know how Jelle sounds. I already got it wrong right away.
No problem, no problem. Hello, 1, 2, test.
Right.
Test, mic. Okay, let's see. I think it works.
Let's see. Oh, we're getting duplicate audio? What? I haven't changed anything since last time.
So it doesn't work.
They can't hear you. Wait, can you speak?
Hello.
I'm sure they... Oh, apparently you sound too quiet. Let me up you a bit.
Test. I can hear myself on the stream.
We don't have duplicate. Mick had 2 tabs open. That's his fault. Okay, so that's not an issue. But, yeah, I've turned you up quite a bit now. So try again. How am I sounding and how is Jelle sounding?
Hello, 1, 2. Am I loud? Am I silent? Who will know?
Okay, I think people are saying it's all good now. So we will start. Welcome to the 13th. We're on 13. Lucky number. 13th GameDev Q&A live stream. This time with Jelle. How about you tell us what it is you're up to now? What it is you do on your channel? What kind of stuff do you cover?
Well, hello everyone. For those who don't know me, I am Jelle. I make YouTube videos about little projects I make. It goes from all kinds of things. So I made some games exploring some difficult mathematical theories, some more playful games where I made some AR games, boxing. So I try to look for projects that really interest me and try to make some fun games where I can use myself as well as a character or as the player with some cool controls as well. I like to experiment with fun controls. So if you like that, then head over to my channel. But first, of course, stick around for our Q&A, of course.
Yeah, better stick around and watch the stream first. But we do have a link to your channel below, and later on at the end of the stream, we'll post all the other social media links there. And I think, like what you were just saying, that's one of the things that kind of caught my eye when I saw your channel the first time, was like, you know, rather than typical kind of tutorials and Unity videos, there's an emphasis on the controls, I think. Like, yeah. I think the first one I saw maybe was the Wii Remote's robot one, the big monster attacking the town, attacking the city.
Was a nightmare to make.
Yeah, I mean, I never even considered like, oh, I have some old Wii Remotes lying around. I'd never even considered like how to make them work in Unity. But yeah, that's the thing that like always makes it more interesting, because my videos are just completely screen record. It's all in Unity. Yours are very much like in your room, in the world, like being very active and cool kinds of input that make the games very interesting.
Well, I wouldn't really say in the world, because everything is in my room.
Yeah, in the room. I noticed someone saying, chat, how come your room is so dark?
Because it's nighttime outside.
Yeah.
So I like to give it it's a little of an atmosphere, you see?
Just have a bit
of one big light on my face.
Yeah.
And then some neon lighting in the back of my room to give some color in the room. I've thought about everything.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. My room's like far too bright. I should just go turn off my light, but then you wouldn't.
There is this table here that's just one giant white rectangle.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what to do with this.
Yeah.
But this is my drawing table where I do some standing work, so I can try switch between sitting and standing. Because if you sit all day, it's not good for your butt.
Yeah, I should probably take that into account. But let's have a look at what other questions we've got here, because I'm sure there's quite a few questions I still have to ask, but I don't want to just keep going on. I want to see what people have to say in chat. So someone asked, this is specifically about your content, do you plan on expanding Robo Royale to the wider audience, not just your Discord server?
Well, okay, so those of you who don't know what this is,
yeah,
I made a battle royale game in Discord. So imagine you're like, it's a turn-based game, because I wanted to make a multiplayer game where every one of my fans. So I recently had 10,000 subscribers, and I want to make some celebration for that. So I thought, why don't I make like a fun multiplayer game for everyone? But then I was thinking how I've never really made a multiplayer game before, and I didn't really know how to do it. So I was looking around for stuff, thinking of some ideas of how can I easily make a multiplayer game. And then I was thinking about the Twitch plays Pokemon games, where you just react, or you send a message in the chat, and then the character does something. And I was thinking, well, that might be a lot easier to do, because you don't really need a dedicated server for that, because all the events are handled on Twitch itself. And then I was thinking, like, I just made a Discord server and I want to promote it a little bit, so maybe I can get some new people in the server. Well, why don't I make a game specifically for that Discord server? So I saw that some other YouTubers like Polymart made a Discord game with the API. So I was looking into the API, but I was thinking I want to do a little bit more than just making a text-based game for everyone. And I really like to make 3D games, so I was thinking, why don't I make a 3D game inside of Discord that I can stream live, and then everyone can react to messages, and they can then control their own little robot. So I made that, and it was quite a struggle, because well, it's not really easy to make a bot with Unity, because Unity is not really made to host as a server and to get to host at the Discord bot, because you can't really have multiple instances of the same bot. So you imagine you make a game on Unity, it has a bot inside of it, and you sell it for everyone. Then everyone has the same API key, and everyone just connects to the same bot, and everything goes haywire. So it was really, and there are some C# APIs available, but I don't know, Unity doesn't really support that, because it's based on the C#.NET, the .NET framework, and then Unity works on Mono, and so I didn't really know what the difference was, but apparently it doesn't work like that. So luckily there was a repository on GitHub that did try the same thing as I did, but it wasn't really finished yet, and he stopped developing it because, well, basically it doesn't really make sense to make a bot for Unity. So then I got that repository and I made my 3D game. And well, it was quite a challenge, and I had a lot of sleepless nights where I just didn't really know what I was doing. It was the first time I did all those things. But I think by the end, the result was quite nice. So you imagine you can play as this little robot, right? For everyone, you can watch this little. I 3D printed this robot to show what the game was about. Might be a little bit overkill, but it's fun, I think. So everyone goes into the Discord server and then reacts with a little heart for the color of the robot they want to be. So if they react with the red heart, they get the red robot. And if they react with the blue heart, they get the blue robot. And then the game starts, and everyone just goes on the same playboard. It's a giant chessboard, you can imagine. And everyone goes on that field then, and you react with the messages. And every 10 seconds, you need to make your move, and then all the robots move at the same time. And you have to destroy other robots and try to be the last one standing. And if you win the last one, then you get a prize. Well, the prize right now is a Discord role, but it might not really be the most exciting prize. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with a lot of people. But to answer the question, wait. So the question was,
let me think.
Do I want to expand the Robo Royale? So yeah. So a lot of people say that I want to play the game all the time and I want to play it everywhere. But I made this game to be played on our Discord server. So I think for the meantime, I'm going to leave it there to keep it as a little exclusive feature of my Discord server. But I had some people said that it's difficult when their internet's like slow because I have to stream the game, right? That also means that I can't really post it on a server because bots can't stream their feed right now. At least that's what I'm told. So for now, I have to host it manually and I have to do it myself. So every week we play for 3 hours in the weekend, and then I play with everyone at the same time. But they would say like that I could use images and take screenshots every now and then and send those screenshots to the Discord server. And then they can react to that, and they don't really need to watch the stream, and they can get because it's a turn-based game. You can basically just get one frame every 10 seconds or something. This should be enough. So I think for the meantime, the roadmap for Robo Royale is getting some more fun game modes inside of the game, and then trying to get some more hands-off way of working, so that I don't really have to be on there all the time, and I can play more.
Well, I'll have to check it out. I've never actually tried it myself. I have seen about it, and that's one cool thing about like creators making games and projects like this, and not like the typical AAA games you make or games you play. Sorry, because you know they don't have like these fun little weird games and activities going on in their Discord server. It's quite a unique thing. Like the closest thing I've seen to this, well, like you said, there's Twitch Plays Pokemon, that kind of idea, and I've seen Danny did like an arena where people in YouTube, I think they would send comments or something, and then they'd get like a character in the big arena, like it would take their YouTube name or something, their channel name, and give them that little fighter and something. Like it's just cool for people to like be a part of, even if it's very simple and basic. I mean, it's not basic behind the scenes, like you said. It was a massive pain and sleepless nights and just
but
endless researching.
Well, even especially like these times when everyone is stuck inside and they really want have some more social contacts. I think a lot of game dev people made some fun games that you can play together to really get back that feeling of meeting other people, especially when everyone is stuck inside. And I thought that would be a nice way to get everyone really back together and try to make some online replacement for the real world where you can't really meet each other right now in big numbers. So that was also a part of it, trying to like connect with everybody again.
Yeah, and someone was saying like the difference is the thing you did actually has like player interaction. Like you don't just, in the case of Danny's thing, join the game because you've commented on the video or whatever and then watch it happen. Like you actually have to keep going. And I'm thinking with like the Twitch Plays Pokemon and stuff, because obviously there's like thousands of messages per second on some of them. I'm wondering how they actually interpret that. Do they take one in every certain amount, or do they actually process every single message and then do that many like button presses, or however it's converted? I'm curious to know that.
Yeah, I think there must be some sort of like cap. For the amount of messages that bot can handle per second. But I think it's different when you decide when you have the anarchy modes and the democracy modes. I think because when with the democracy modes, you vote, everyone sends a bunch of messages, and then the most popular one gets chosen. So I think if the bot can handle all the messages, then of course it will send out all the messages. But in the anarchy modes, your player can also only make that much movements per second, right? So I think it like cherry picks some messages from there. I don't really know what I'm saying. Maybe it's completely wrong, but someone will most likely correct me then.
I think it makes sense. I don't know, like if people will actually know the answer to that kind of stuff.
What I mean right now with my bot, I also had the same problem. So when I tested before I launched the video, when we played with 7 people, I think at once, my bot could really handle like every message reaction that was added. So when someone adds a reaction, the game would directly execute that action. But when I released the video and a lot of people game, I think we played with like 80 people at once, then my bot couldn't really handle all these messages anymore. So people would click on the messages and nothing would happen because all the messages didn't get through. So I had to change the way I get all these messages. So instead of just getting the message every time it's sent, I just store the message that is where you need to react to. And then by the end of 10 seconds, I just read all the reactions and then do this. So that way, it's really independent of how many players can play. And theoretically, we can play with infinite players then, of course.
Yeah, I've done a few tutorials in the past on like Discord bot stuff, and reactions has always been one thing that I've had issues with when it comes to like delays and like sometimes missing a reaction that happened.
Yeah.
Just annoying things like that. So they're always a bit of a pain to work with, it seems. But yeah.
Well, especially when you're like having to rewrite your API yourself because it's not finished yet. And then you're like, don't worry. Then you're like, is it my fault or is it the API fault?
That's why you stay up all night trying to figure it out. So,
of course.
Yeah. Another question. Someone asked, "What are our ages?" So,
I
obviously,
am 25, I think.
25.
So I graduated last year, my university, my master's degree, and then now I'm freelancing for about a year,
Okay.
doing that alongside.
Yeah. I don't know if that question. Oh, I said your ages plural. So I think they meant me too. Well, I'm 19 with my 20th birthday in 18 days, so it's only 2 or 3 weeks away. Then I'll be into the
young
20s.
spry fellow.
It feels weird now. I remember like when I was like 9 going into double digits, and that was weird. And now it's like another 10 years later, and now I'm here doing this on stream. So yeah, it's weird. But yeah,
I don't remember when I was 9. I've become old.
Yeah.
I only know the past 3 years.
What else? How do you plan / design for pace in your games? I don't know if that means like how do we pace ourselves in development, or how do we design like the pace of the game for the players? Could that be taken either way?
Yeah. Well, the games that I make are typically pretty short.
Yeah.
So I think the longest game I made was 8 levels, I think. I never really made a long game, so I'm not really bothered. My head is not really occupied with the fact that I think I need to think about how do I keep my players' attention, and how can I like pace it so the attention goes in like the correct waves, like how you build up tension and then release, and then you build up and build up. So when you only have 4 levels, it's just continuous build up, and then you end up with the climax at the end. So I think what I do think about a lot when I make my games for other people, and because I like to make puzzle games as well, is how do you explain the mechanics of the game, and how do you explain what's possible with the mechanics. And that's why I always really go like step by step, explaining new mechanics. And then it's like the Super Mario effect, right? When you have to teach the player by playing the game, and then he goes. Imagine you have to like flip a switch or something, and a door opens. Then the player you automatically have to pause the switch before you can enter the next thing. So you see like, oh, I pressed the switch and the door opens. Okay, so I need to remember that whenever I press a switch, a door will open. And then the next level will build upon that and be a little bit more difficult. Trying to, for example, you can't really reach the switch because you first have to switch another switch on, so before you can reach that switch. So, and then that way I like to build up my levels and then really climax at the end with some nice epic level where everything that you learned is collected, and you have to solve it.
Yeah, I think most people prefer that in games. I especially do. I don't like tutorials where you spawn in and then it's just like, these are the keys to move, jump, and then it's like, pick up this thing, do this. It's just like either nothing is told to you, or like your challenge, your goal is like you're told the goal, what you need to do, but not how to do it. And like you said, you figure it out, and then the next thing is the same but slightly different, and you use your brain to figure it out. And even
it's much more rewarding that way.
Yeah, for puzzle games, of course, but even for non-puzzle games, I think most games I much prefer a tutorial where you figure it out yourself than just being like told, press this button, stand in this spot, hit this thing, do this. It's much better when it's like get over there, and it's just like a challenge to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand like depending on who the game is targeted at, maybe someone might be brand new to games and they might not know the typical keys to do certain things. They might not know that, WASD is to move and usually E is to interact with something, or maybe F in some games or whatever. They might need to be told the controls, I guess. I like games where the controls are almost like in the world. You don't get like an annoying pop-up saying, hey, it's this to do this. Maybe next to the switch is like a big E on the wall for the E key. I've seen games do that, and then they'll even have it so it's dynamic, right? If you've changed your controls before you've gone in the game, that button, the thing in the world will change. So you get like the controls in the game. I know it's not the easiest thing to implement, but I think it really adds a lot to tutorials.
Yeah, I think definitely that kind of things are really worth it in the end. Get some more player satisfaction, because in the end we're just trying to make a fun time, right? And everything that we can do to lower the barrier of entry, I think, is a good thing.
If someone finishes the tutorial and they enjoyed it, then they're going into the rest of the game happy. But if the tutorial's really boring and like just, oh yeah, I get it, like I do this, and yeah, thanks for telling me that's to jump, you know, and then at the end you're like, all right, you get to the game, but you're kind of annoyed you just spent 5-10 minutes doing a boring tutorial or whatever. If it's that basic, maybe make it skippable or something. But I like games where the tutorial is also part of the story. Like the game starts as the tutorial, but it's kind of hidden as it's not actually a tutorial, or it is, but it's not presented as one.
Yeah, but you can also like go overboard with that, right? Because I imagine like when you play like Zelda from the Twilight Princess, it has notoriously a very long intro where you have to tutorial screen. I have to play the game for 2 hours, I think, before you can actually go and do stuff. You have to go there and you have to go there, and then you learn about horses and you learn about the bow and arrow and you learn about the slingshot. So I think, well, they definitely, I think Nintendo really knew that it was a little bit too long, because in Breath of the Wild, right, they like totally revamped it and you have to explore everything yourself. So I think that it's really a nice way of moving forward, trying to really let the player go and trust him to figure it out.
Yeah, and some games will have kind of a bit of a tutorial at the start with the basics, and then later on, like maybe the first time you get a certain type of item, or the first time you get to a certain location, you get like a bit more of a tutorial. So it's spread out rather than, like you say, 2 hours before you can actually play the game.
Yeah.
Spreading out is much better. But yeah, I think that might answer about the general conversation about pacing and stuff. It's not an easy question where you can just answer it and it works for every type of game, of course. But
no, of course not.
Yeah.
No.
I think we gave a good description of that. So what else do we have here? Someone asked if you're working on any games or projects, but I think we already addressed at least what you have worked on, a few of your projects. And then what about what you're working on now? Did we start with that?
No.
No, we haven't got there yet. Okay, we'll go with that then.
I am always working on a new project, right? So I'm working right now. I'm writing the script for my next video. I can give you a little teaser.
Ooh.
So the little I have all these toys on my desk from things I printed. So it's very handy. Our little astronaut boy that I used for the 4-dimensional game is going on another adventure, and this time he's exploring an imaginary world. So rather than like 3 dimensions or 4 dimensions, he's going to play a game on a complex plane where you're moving with like complex numbers as a 2-dimensional coordinates. So like instead of moving on the X and Y plane, your character moves with like the real part of the number, and then the upwards direction is the imaginary part of the number. And then, but of course, right now it sounds really boring, but the really fun things happen when you multiply 2 locations, because when you multiply an imaginary number with another imaginary number, then the eyes in the imaginary number become a -1, of course, and then you go somewhere totally different. So it's like a game where you have to teleport around, and then it's just fun. But I'm writing the script right now and finishing up some levels. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I've seen like a video or two about kind of 4D games and like the weird stuff that happens with like you almost see like 2 different places overlapping, or like how do you get past this wall and you go into the other dimension and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Is that like exactly how yours is going to be? Well, by exactly I mean, is that the same kind of idea? Like you get past things by going into a different plane of existence and stuff like that.
Well, no. The 4D game, I already made that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That video is out right now, and you can.
Oh, I haven't seen that one then. Unless that's one of the ones I've already seen. I don't know.
Well, it's with this guy. So if you've seen him on the thumbnail, then you know it's that the game is going to be right. No, So you've probably seen like Miyakure, the other game. That's one of the most famous 4D-dimensional games.
That's probably the one I've seen. I can't remember right now, honestly.
Well, and you move across the space by rotating planes. So imagine, well, it's kind of hard, but instead of like 3 axes of movement, you have 4.
Yeah.
But you can only move at 3 at the same time. So what the game then does is when you press a button, you rotate around the 4-dimensional space, and like one of the hidden axes becomes available as a third axis, and then you can move across a different plane of existence and then like play a game, move around and pass through walls that don't really exist in that place. But how I did it was with a slider and have a 3D section of the 4D world. So imagine you have a hypercube that is defined by 4 directions. But then you say, like, I just want the 3D slice of that 4-dimensional object at the certain distance from the center, like a certain value. And then at that point, you basically made a 3D game with a parameter that you can change depending on what value you choose. The 3D objects become different of size and orientation, and it become really weird shapes because hypercubes of tesseracts aren't always cubes when you slice them. In 3-dimensional, this becomes like 6 sides or 8 sides or a bunch of sides, and it gets pretty that was also a video that was really breaking my head because I had to learn how 4-dimensional things work. What was 4-dimensional? What is it even? And then I had to learn how to make it in a game, which was even like harder. So I have the tendency to choose projects where I have no idea how to start, and then I just like throw my head at the screen until it kind of works.
Yeah, like you said, it was very hard, and you spent ages learning about it, and now you're talking about it here, and I'm just like, I'm having the blank because I'm like, I haven't spent ages researching it, and like, the maths behind it, and then it's like Hypercube, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I know what a Hypercube is, of course. Like maybe if I see it, I'll remember from seeing it at some point in the past, but yeah, I'll have to go actually spend time looking into that to understand most of the stuff you just said. So
yeah. Well, you can always watch my video and then everything becomes clear.
Exactly. We'll see. Yeah. I think Mick posted a link, and I've not followed the link, but that link might be the video. He can tell us if it is. But he linked to a YouTube video at some point. So.
But don't watch it yet. Wait until we finish.
Yeah. If that's not the video, then he can go find that one as well. But so that's the. Well, so you said the 4D one is what you've done, but what's the one you're working on now?
The imaginary one.
Yeah, that one's even more beyond. Well, I've heard of imaginary numbers, and I never covered it in the maths I was doing at school. The people who did like further mathematics covered that stuff, so I never actually got into what it meant and how it works, because I know it's just more mind.
Don't worry, because I will make a video about it, and everything will become clear.
Yeah, this is where I can get all my knowledge now from your videos there.
Of course, chat, if you have some more difficult mathematics you need to learn from school and you don't know how it works, then just post in the comments and then I'll make a game about it.
Yeah. Is that your kind of thing then? It's just...
Yeah, I'm going to become the math teacher of games and everything will become clear.
Yeah. But your way of teaching is by making games about the topic.
Yes. Well, it's always much more fun when you can play the game and try to learn it. Then you have to do it at school, right?
That's true. Oh wow, we have a lot of questions lined up here, don't we? Okay, how do you come up with such interesting and unique ideas?
All right, so what I do is I sit down in my desk and then I write a bunch of stuff down that I think are horrible ideas. I just write. I think, are they horrible? Yeah, doesn't matter. Just write them out. And then I go for a run or something, or I go, just can't really do much more. Yeah. And then in my back of my head, everything is going like, I'm thinking, wow, the connections are being made. Like, well, maybe I can do something like that or something like that. And then when I come back home, sometimes I get a good idea, and if I don't get a good idea, I just wait, because right now I'm making like 1 video a month, so it's not really hard to think of an idea in the span of 1 month. Especially when you're working on another game, my mind is constantly like somewhere else as well, and I'm thinking about how can I do this and how can I do that. And a lot of my early videos really came from the lockdown, where I was like, I'm bored and I don't. Well, I wasn't really bored. I couldn't do anything, and I was like trying to solve problems I had. But like, were there real problems? Well, maybe not, but there was fun things to solve, right? So make like a pandemic hoarding game where you have to hoard toilet paper with a shopping cart you have to control. And I got that idea because I watched the news and everyone was hoarding toilet paper. I was thinking, why are these people hoarding toilet paper? And then I was thinking, well, maybe I can just make a game about it to explain that you really don't need to hoard all these toilet papers, right? So my ideas are like a mixture of things I come across in real life and some interesting topics I like to explore that I saw somewhere on the internet. So most of the complicated games, I call them, are like based on internet interesting concepts, or like 4-dimensional space or fractals or something. And the other side are like the stupid games that I make based on my hobbies or how I go about my day, or something I saw on the news. Well,
yeah, I think that probably answers it. Just like you say, jot down all the bad ideas you've got and then start connecting the dots, and then you've got a video. So
don't be afraid to write down bad ideas and think, oh my god, it's so terrible, because you can always think of a new idea and try to combine stuff that you saw on the end. I'm an architect, right? So I always learned at school to like look for things that you see in the world and combine them into something new. So imagine you see like, oh, I see this nice gray building, and then next somewhere else you see these nice windows, and you think, oh, this windows would really fit with the color of that building, and let's just smash together and we have a new building, right? And that's the way I approach my games as well all the time. So I think, well, I've seen this somewhere else, like the 4-dimensional game. I've seen a 4-dimensional game somewhere else, but then I was thinking, well, I also saw I really like cute things and like astronauts, and I can make it somewhere in space, and then I can use different kind of mechanics, how the game works, and then you just create a new game and then you can make it that. So a lot of people are always afraid that something that they'll make isn't really original because it already existed. But then from the moment you're like combining a lot of unoriginal things, you create something original, because it's like the combination of a bunch of things that you saw. So I always tell people just to look around, and to, especially at games, like choose mechanics or visual style that you really like and mash them together into something that can become a new fun game, and then you can put your heart into it and then make something special.
Yeah, I mean, most of my videos, obviously that question was clearly aimed at you because it was about interesting and exciting videos. Mine are a bit more just tutorials, but I do like when there's a game jam or something, or when I'm in my free time and I'm in the mood to do Unity stuff. I do just brainstorm ideas and make little things, and usually like most of them just die there in the Unity folder of projects on my PC. But some things I'll make into videos, or I'll be doing a new video and I'll be like, I'm going to cover this thing, and I'm like, oh, I can go grab that project I used and kind of integrate it with that. So it's like, for example, for what, like my most recent video, it was about multiplayer character selection. And it's like, I've done character selection things before, like just here's a character spinning around, and then you press the next button, and you've got your left and right arrow to cycle between the characters, and then boom, you're that character. And then I was thinking like, all right, but people want this in multiplayer, so like you're gonna have to tell the server which character you wanted, and then the server's gonna spawn you in. Obviously, everyone else has to see the character you selected, and everyone's gonna have to be able to do this. And for each character, I want like a little name, and then their model spinning with like the idle animation or maybe some other animation. Just mash that all together, and I'm like, oh, I've got a video now from this thing I made ages ago, and people are loving the multiplayer tutorials. So I just need to keep coming up with.
Multiplayer is something everybody wants to do, I think.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do. So it's good that there's a lot of people, or some people,
that
make some great tutorials about it, so that everyone else can learn it, of course.
Yeah, and the thing with multiplayer tutorials, they take a bit longer to make, because as you'd expect, everything you've got to do, you've got to also consider how does that work online. Like, oh yeah, I've made this system, and it's like, yeah, but like other people need to do it, and like that data should probably be stored on the server, and then you got to send this back and forth and sync this, and what if that client joins late, and things like that. There's so many other factors to think about, and in a simple tutorial, you can't cover everything. So for example, in that tutorial where I'm doing character selection, the way I do it is I have like a list of all the characters, and they each have effectively an ID, because you can't send to the server the character you want as like the entire character object of all the data. You just want to send, I want to play character 1. Simple, right? You just send, I'm playing character 1. The server's like, character 1, it's this character, and then it will spawn that in and everything. If someone said, I want to play character 5, and there is no character 5, then the code breaks. But it's one of those things where, okay, I could add that in, I could like protect against that, but then if I'm protecting against that, I should probably protect against every other little thing. The video would be an hour long, not 15 minutes, right? So I got to make some compromise. I want to show, hey, look at this cool thing, really easy to implement. By the way, this would break if someone hacked their client and like sent the wrong value, or if something bugged out, that would break. So just keep that in mind. So many more things can break with multiplayer games.
So how do you choose what to explain and what to leave out?
What to leave out? So with multiplayer specifically, I tend to leave out the things that would like protect against cheating, or like, it's because obviously people want to know about cheat protection, and like I've had comments like, give me code to stop cheaters, and it's like, that's not a thing. Like, can't just it doesn't work like that. It's like everything you make, every time you do a call to the server, you've got to think like, all right, as with like even web development, right? You've got a form, people send you the data through that form. You've got to think like, don't trust the data they send, right? Like if you have like an age input field and you give them a number picker from 0 to 100, like, and you just accept that number, well, what if they actually sent minus 100, right? And that might break your entire thing. You've got to always never trust the client is a thing people always need to think about, is never trusting the client. So in my example, the only data that's sent to the server in that entire tutorial is when they select their character, like when they actually confirm, they just send the ID of the character they want. But obviously I get the ID and I spawn in the character, and that's kind of the point in the tutorial, is about syncing that kind of thing and how to display the spinning character with the next thing. And then obviously if I join 10 minutes later, I want to see all the players who are already on the server with their characters that they selected. And I made sure it scales, right? In the video, I only show like swapping between 2 characters, but you just add more to the list and it's completely, it just works. So yeah, I kind of sidetracked from the question there about how do I choose what not to include? It's like, I do coding tutorials, so for example, with UI stuff I do in the videos, I tend to very quickly brush over it because it's not the focus of the tutorial. I tend to keep in what the focus of the tutorial is and try and skip out, leave out the stuff that isn't, but I might briefly mention it. So the focus of the tutorial is how to make character selection in a multiplayer game. If you watch this 15-minute video, you can make character selection in a multiplayer game. That doesn't mean it's finished, perfect, that's how you'd ship it. You want the video to be short enough to be interesting to people and to have them with that quick win, 15 minutes, they can make this. But at the same time, in a real game, there'd be a lot more to it. You might have unlocking characters by in-game currency, or you might have like a random button to pick a random character. Certain characters, like you might want to make it, if like, that character's already picked, you can't pick it. And all those extra things I don't cover unless there's like a huge demand on the video in the comments afterwards, like, hey, can you add all these things? Maybe I'll do a follow-up.
Because I made a tutorial once about it was covering a very big topic, like how do you make a 3D character for your game. So it goes from like drawing a 2D image of your character to having a workable player controller in the game with a 3D model, right? So there's a lot of steps in between there. And the video is only 30 minutes long, so you can imagine I skipped the whole thing, a whole bunch of stuff. And then I have two kind of comments, right? A lot of people say, oh, this video was way too fast, I couldn't follow because you didn't explain everything step by step. And then the other half, of course, I think it's more than half. Generally, it's pretty positive, but they are saying like, oh, this is perfect pace because I would just need to watch a 30-minute videos and I know every step of the process, and I can now go on my own and try all these steps and really give it my own spin. So and I made that tutorial that way because I always try to look for that kind of tutorial as well on YouTube, because especially when you get like started with a new topic, like for instance a multiplayer thing, and then you see all these like series of YouTube videos, or like who are like you have 30 videos and they're all a half an hour long and it covers every step in detail, and then you have to watch all this whole series, and you have spent 5 hours and watching the whole series, and then you have to like start your own product. And then I'm looking for like the introductory video to how is the whole stack looking like, or what is it looking like, and what are all the steps you need to perform to make the finished project, right? And then to really start from there, and then delve into the sub videos that really cover each topic in detail where I need help. So I think what was I going to say? Yeah, that I prefer the type of tutorials that at start, so when I start exploring a new idea, that really cover a broad topic that I want to explore, and then so I like is kind of brush over every detail, but really show the steps that you need to perform to get like a wide scope view of what I need to do to make this thing come to reality. So have you ever thought about making some sort of video like that? Or do you say I much prefer to make the more detailed ones because they're more time efficient? And
I'm trying to think if I've ever done the kind of really short skipping over kind of tutorials before. I think I've at least tried it before, but people definitely prefer, from what I've heard in comments and everything, people prefer my like code along videos. But I do like to limit the videos to be 20 minutes maximum. You know, if they go over by a couple of minutes, it's fine. But I try and keep it in the 15 or maybe the 10 to 20 minute range. And I want to make sure that if I skip something out that like I've done in the project, but I don't show, so obviously that could make people confused because they don't know how to do that thing. I always make sure they can go grab it on GitHub, or if it's code, it's on GitHub, but it's also, I'll at least show code on the screen even if I don't write it. So like in that video, there were 2 scripts. One of them was just like a scriptable object. I already had like all the fields set up and everything. I didn't want to sit there just typing out serialized field private this, serialized field private this. I'm like, I could do that, but that would add an extra couple minutes to the video. Just me there typing out the same thing over and over, just with different types and variable names. So I'd already written it out, and I was just like, here's the character class, and we have a field for their name and their like prefab and whatever else. And then for the class that actually had like all the logic in for the character selection and server the client logic, that I did code everything on screen, apart from all the fields at the top, because I find in my videos the reason they usually go longer than I want is because I spend so long just on the, so we need a serialized field private game object this because we'll be using it for this, then we need a serialized field private so whilst people do prefer the code along, I think they care more about the logic. If I just show them here are the variables we need to drag in the inspector, they're fine to just pause, add them all, and then go into the logic. So I try not to waste time on things that's like too obvious. They can just pause, they've got it there. Doesn't really need explanation. It's like, of course we need reference to the UI to turn it on and off because we need to turn it on and off. It's like, I don't need to sit there and explain, this is why we have this serialized field game object display object, whatever.
Do you use a lot of pseudocode to like get your ideas down first and then get into it, or are you like more of a straight ahead guy?
Yeah, more of a straight ahead guy. I remember in school when we had to write pseudocode, and most people in the class were like, but why? It's like it was weird because obviously pseudocode isn't actually a language, so there's always questions on like how was the syntax in pseudocode, and I don't know. Oh, is your webcam disappeared?
It's like, so
there we go.
my camera, so it's a DSLR, and it's connected with a USB cable. But my camera can only record 30 minutes at a time. So every 30 minutes, it needs to reset.
Okay.
And that way you get this error time, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No.
Problem.
Well,
I asked the question because I think, well, I wouldn't call it like real pseudocode, but I always try to write down what I want to do in the script, what I make, to make sure that I don't lose track of what I'm actually doing and trying to like get sidetracked.
Yeah,
so I also use it, especially on my personal projects, when I'm only working on for example, a couple hours a day, and then I have to return the next day and I have to remember where was I and what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, I do plan stuff like either on I've used Trello, I've used this thing called Hack and Plan, which is like a GameDev Trello. And what else? I've used something called Codex that Unity uses for their open project. That's where I first heard about it. There's the kind of project planning software. I've used those before, but when I'm doing a video, I very much prefer to just think up of the idea, then decide, is this to do with a video I've done before? Like if it's another mirror multiplayer kind of short tutorial, I have like a repository. I have a project for that where I've got like a scene per thing. So rather than making a new GitHub repository for every video, it's kind of for that playlist. I prefer to just make the project, go in and start coding straight away without doing pseudocode, and I just tinker around until it works. Once it's working, I'll then go through and maybe do a bit of refactoring if it needs it, and then once I'm happy, I'm like, okay, I think I should do this for the video. So I'll commit it to GitHub. I'll then delete the code or like revert to the previous commit, and then I'll do the video. And I'll have up on my other monitor like the code from that most recent commit. So I kind of work back towards it so that when I release the video, I already have the commit there and it's the same. And yeah, that's the way I usually do things. Yeah. Okay. We'll look at the next question. As game devs, do you actually go outside, or are you like me and never leave the house?
Oh, this hits home so hard. So I spend like most of my time in my room.
Yeah, same.
I have to admit it. But I want to go outside, like even if it's 5 minutes every day, to breathe some fresh air. So I like to run a lot. So I like to three times a week, I think, I go for a run outside. I used to climb a lot, but now all the climbing gyms are closed, so I can't do that anymore. But we built a home climbing wall. So we built our own climbing wall. So we have some second-hand holds, and then we had this giant plywood sheet, and we drilled some holes in it, and then made our own routes basically. But it's like I think 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters, like, and then we can make some fun little routes. Try to keep ourselves a little bit fit, right? Because when you're in your room all day and you're sitting down, it's not really good for you. You need to move every now and then. Kids always take breaks every hour, at least 5 minutes. Go stand up a little bit, make a little turnaround, and sit down back down. Your future self will be very proud of you.
Yeah, I'd say like before lockdown and going into lockdown, like nothing much changed for me. Like that's not to say I never went out. Like I did. Obviously going out less now because there's nothing to do. But we've been in lockdown for so long that I want to go out more now than I did like when we could beforehand.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like before the lockdown, it was like, oh, I don't really have to leave the house if I can stay outside, and it's fine. But now you're like looking for something where you can actually go outside, even if it's only like once every so much time, right?
Yeah, because I'm like quite introverted and I'm happy being indoors and whatever, and I'm okay. I'm happy going outdoors too, but I know some people really hate being stuck indoors. I'm completely fine if I'm stuck indoors. But then it's been that long now that I'm actually thinking like, damn, I wish I could go out and do things that I would normally not care about. I'm like,
yeah,
I just want to sit indoors and do whatever. But yeah, I think a lot of people are in that position now. So it's like, you know, once we can go out and do stuff again, then
it's going to be explosion. Everyone is going out in the same time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what's that going to be like?
Yeah, me too.
You won't be able to go anywhere.
We can look at
everywhere will be
like
full.
New Zealand, right? So they're like COVID free, I think, over there, and they've started to do some parties and stuff. So I think it's gonna be like something similar, but at like much bigger scale, of course, because I don't think New Zealand has that many people inside.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like you might want to go and do something like watch a film, but everywhere's going to be fully booked. Like it's going to be really bad. Like not bad, but yeah, it's going to be crazy. Like you'll leave the house and like everyone will be out there. Like
yeah, I've got these vouchers for like to go to the movies, and I got them last year, and they're only available for 1 year.
Oh.
But the cinemas are still closed,
Yeah.
so I have nothing to do with them. But the website said that they will be prolonged until the end of March. But by the looks of it,
That's not good.
The cinemas are going to go open by the end of March. So let's hope I can get.
Hope you can use them more eventually.
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid the questions people are asking, like specific mirror, how do I do this kind of questions. Just going to keep this more of an open thing for both of us to discuss.
How do I do this?
Because like, you know, if I was talking with someone else who was like also like a mirror multiplayer YouTuber, then, you know, we might talk about that. I try and tailor the conversations based on like who I'm talking to. Because like with Joyce last week, obviously she does mainly art stuff. So I tried not to go on and just talk about code the entire time and have her sit there just like not doing anything.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So what else do you have? What is your favorite game that you've made? Like the favorite project you've worked on out of all your things? If you need a bit longer to think. I think for me, obviously my videos are just very like basic for the sake of tutorials. Though there's like the games I've made for the GameDev TV course. There's game jam things. I think game jams are the only real time when I've finished making a game. I've made like a few for game jams. Apart from that, they're just projects I used to like learn new parts of Unity or GameDev. When I like to test, you know, shaders, modeling, the things I don't normally do because I'm not good at art or that kind of design stuff. I stick to the coding and the back end stuff. So I like to use my own projects to practice those other things. But I'd say my favorite thing is one of my game jam games. I can't remember the theme. I think it was a Bracky's game jam. And I remember the game I made was... I'm trying to think now. I'm having mind blanks. It was like a very trolley game where the game is trying to like get at you. Like everything you do. Like there's loads of invisible things that'll kill you, or like platforms that will disappear. Or like you'll jump onto a new platform and then that platform over there will like a spike will come out and then like move at you and you've got to... They have a name, those kind of things. They're like platformers, but they're
like Kaizo stuff. Like Kaizo Mario, where you have like super difficult and you have to really match time every movement exactly right, because otherwise you're just dead. And
you've got to remember what's going to happen because you don't... Most of the things are hidden or like... Yeah. I made one of those
muscle memory based.
Yeah,
remember everything.
I had a lot of fun making that. Like making it was fun. I think I streamed it, or at least some of it. So I was getting people's suggestions on like how I should like troll the player in this level, and I made like 8 or 9 little levels for it. And then it was just fun like giving it to friends who normally, if I go to my friends, I'm like, hey, I've made this little thing, can you test it for me? They're not interested really. But this, because it was like an actual kind of finished game and there was a challenge to see how many levels you could do, they really enjoyed it because they were like, you know, one of them like finished the game and then was telling everyone else like, obviously I finished the game, you can't finish it, and that like then motivated them to try and play the game and finish it. And yeah, I had quite a few of my friends and people trying out the game just so they could say they finished it. Because I had like a lives system of however many lives. And every time you die, you start that same level again. But once you've lost all your lives, you start the game again. You have to like go through the entire process again. So, you know, there's only like 10 levels. It's not like you waste loads of time. And the whole point is you're practicing. You have to die to learn the levels, unless you're amazing and somehow
like Meat Boy or Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of platformers where you've got to you got to do it like and lose before you can actually win. Yeah, Mick tried it. and quite a few of my friends tried it, and it was fun. I'm sure it's there somewhere on itch. I know it was like really bad, and the thing with game jams, you have to forget about so many things. Like at that time, I was bad at like UI design and didn't know much about like anchors and scaling for different resolutions, or at least I wasn't like that good at it. So it probably looks really bad if you're not on a 1920 monitor. And I did build it for Mac, and I think one of my friends that has a Mac tried it, but I don't have a Mac, so I just built it and was like, hope it works, and sent it, and fingers crossed.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, it works for Windows. It works on my machine, so it better be good. It's fine.
Well, what I do for the UI stuff is always I try to lock it down as much as possible. So I set up my UI based on like the 1080p screen resolution.
Yeah.
And then on itch, I make sure that the resolution is locked and the aspect ratio is also locked. So that way, when you play the game, you're always looking at the same screen, and you don't really have to worry about scaling stuff. Because it's a nightmare of the Unity UI system. It's like you have to, well, maybe it's not just Unity UI. It's like the whole responsive design system. There's like so much work to make some single square look good in all sizes. And it just takes so much time, and I try to avoid it as much as possible always.
Yeah, I mean, when I started using it, I just thought it was going to be impossible to learn, and you needed like a degree in it to use it. So I just avoided it. And eventually I was like, I saw someone using it in a tutorial, like they were setting up the anchors and everything. I was like, wait a minute. That makes so much sense. I don't think it's as hard as I originally thought it was. Like I always had an issue where I'd make like a mini map and I'd scale it to be like, all right, that's a good size on my screen. But then I'd try it on like a smaller screen and it wouldn't scale. So you'd have this like giant mini map on like a smaller screen because it'd be the same size as if it was on my monitor. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well I need it to shrink now when it goes smaller. So I mess with the anchors a bit. But then if I shrunk the screen, then like the mini map was no longer a square. It was like a rectangle because it's squished or stretched. And then eventually, like, it's just a lot of trial and error, at least at first. I don't think it's too bad. And obviously, plenty of like bigger studios use Unity. It's not like it's missing anything that makes it hard for you to, or impossible for you to scale your UI well.
Yeah.
But, and I was about to say, like, without having multiple devices, it'd be hard to test, but obviously not, because you can change the resolution in the editor. But, even then, I remember once I made like a WebGL game, and that was a pain. Like, I'm never doing that again.
Well, I make most of the games that I make are WebGL, because when you make a game jam game, I try to like my whole philosophy is always trying to lower the barrier of entry as much as possible. So I think it's always much easier if the player can directly just click on the link and play the game instead of having to download it. So I've noticed like a bunch of times that some WebGL is like the little child. It's like the lost child always, right? So we have all these features in Unity, and you're always guaranteed that the WebGL has the least amount of compatibility with all the features of Unity. So you make like some super cool shaders or like some other things, and they're just simply not supported on WebGL. And then I make the whole game, and I was like super happy, and everything looks cool. And now I export it to WebGL, and half of it looks terrible and isn't scaled correctly. So I've had my fair share of problems.
Yeah,
but
that was...
I think by the end, my suffering is worth the experience of the players. So I put myself second place, and I think, well, the players are gonna like it.
I related to the WebGL thing there quite a bit, because that was the issue. I built it just normally. I tested it on my machine as a Windows build, and I was like, okay. And then I made a Mac build for my friend. I was like, okay, he says it works, so I trust him. And then when I was uploading it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm thinking now. Some people will download it, but most people will just skip over it and not try if it's not got a WebGL build. So I just made a WebGL build, and I was like, oh no, it's so broken. Like, so just certain things weren't working. I was like, I'll put it online, and yeah, please try the other builds, the actual like proper builds, not just the web builds. But yeah, I mean, that's a good thing about Unity, is it's so easy to just flick a setting and like, boom, you've built for a different device, a different operating system or whatever. And then the downside is, yeah, it doesn't always just work that simply. You've actually got to make changes or cut certain things that just don't work in that build, or you've got to add those pragmas in scripts where you can just not compile that code if it's on that type of build or something. You can have like hashtag if Windows whatever, and only do that for Windows and that for Mac. And yeah, like with mobile games, I think Unity has like the push notification package, but push notifications are different based on iOS, Android, whatever. So you've got to be like, yeah, compile this code if it's Android, but this if it's iOS. And yeah, supporting multiple platforms is always a pain in every scenario. There's always something different that you've got to take into consideration. Yeah.
Yes. My favorite project.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I was buying you time to think about that because you seem to be struggling at the start. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, I just love everything I do.
Okay, that's a cop-out answer.
I mean, I have always, I have an answer, of course. I don't love everything, of course, but a lot of the time when I look back at the videos that I make, I get a happy feeling inside and think, well, I did a great job back then. And then but of course, I always forget the hard times that I had when I tried to make the videos. So everything is like a happy memory where I forgot all the terrible things that happened along the way. But I think one of the project that I'm most proud of is the 4-dimensional game one with the little astronaut guy, because I really felt like I did something there that is the kind of like moving the some really interesting, right?
Breaking the mold. Not just
and doing something that not a lot of people have done before, and they say and people have some great positive responses from that. But of course it was a really hard project to make, so I wouldn't really say it was my favorite project to work on, but it was my favorite project to have finished, right? And I think my favorite project that I have worked on have to be like the bike racing game I made. So I have made a game where you control a game with your bike, like Swift. I don't know if you know it, but it's like digital, where you can race against each other online with home trainers. So just like digital racing. So this was also when the lockdown was happening, and it was like, well, maybe that this doesn't really. I don't think it was because of that. In the video I said that I wanted to make a game. I wanted to go on a ride with my bike, but it was raining that day. So I figured out another way to ride my bike online, right? So I made this whole contraption and game where you can ride in the game. Of course, it took way longer than just one day to make that. So the magic of the video. But it was a lot of fun to work on it, because I 3D scanned myself, put in the game, and I made some with photogrammetry, and I really made my bike. And so a lot of new cool things that weren't necessarily too complicated to figure out, but weren't easy to do, but it's a lot of fun to make. And then also had to use some my Arduino set to have some connections with the bike and try to calculate how fast I was going. And using all kinds of different, getting my inner engineer out, right, and like building some sort of stand for my bike so I can rotate the wheel, and then having some sort of pivot on the front where I can rotate my front wheel, and it registers that rotation so I can steer in the game. So that was really a lot of fun to make.
Yeah, I feel like it's always fun to try something new. Like, it's fun and all working on a project that you know how to do everything and you're just building a thing, but I always much prefer to do this I'm gonna have to learn about this new package, this new engine, this new system, this new something, right? Or I'm gonna have to use this API to do something. It's always fun to just learn something new. So like you said, for that you had to bring out your inner engineer, and then you had to get your bike, and then the photogrammetry stuff. And for example, I've never done most of that stuff, but I'm just imagining if I was doing a project and I had to learn it, I don't care going in that I don't know it, because people expect oh, you do Unity tutorials, you know how to do everything in Unity, and it's no. It's if you ask me to do something, I might know how to do most of it, but there'll be things I'm happy to admit I don't know how to do that, but give me a certain amount of time and I'll go learn it, because in Unity, in the package manager, there's tons of packages. I've never used half of them, probably not even a quarter of them, because there'll be some I use at every single project, but some that sound interesting. I got a VR headset a couple years ago, and I used it back then, but the support in Unity was kind of bad for like doing the development. You had to get like, I think mine was an Oculus Rift, so I got like the Oculus,
the original one.
Yeah, I think so. I had to like get the package for it, and I was like, okay, yeah, and I'm thinking ahead. If I make this game, will it work on other VR devices? It's like, no, you've got to use the other SDK and like and the SDKs were just a mess, and then out of date, or that thing's not working, or it was so new at the time, and I was like, yeah, and I got kind of put off doing it. And then now it's apparently really good and easy because Unity has like the XR package or something, which is
I've used it a bunch. It's really good.
It's like the layer in between, right? Like if you use this, it then works for all different VR.
I use it for my AR stuff. It's really handy because you can just make it once and then you can deploy it on Android and on iOS at the same time. So they've really made it a lot easier to make like these games.
Yeah, you said AR there, didn't you? But I think they have like,
well, for VR, it's the same basic principle, right?
Yeah. I remember once I was like looking at mobile development in C# with Xamarin, and they have like the Xamarin Essentials package, which is to access like the gyroscope and the battery and like all the various things that are on all different phones. You just use that, and then it will compile based on the build into that specific device's code. You don't have to do the thing I said in Unity where like, if you're using iOS, then this is the code. If you're using Android, this is the code. It's like a layer in between, so you can access those common things that all phones have. Same with VR. Like, I've never used the package, but I know Andre's used it. Andre from Mix and Jam, because he did a video on Unity's channel for it, and I think I spoke with him about it or something. Because I live streamed with him early December, and I think that was after he did the video. He did like a bow and arrow thing, but he was using that package, and I've never tried it before, and it made me consider getting out my VR headset again to try using it. I just haven't got around to it because my room is not the biggest, so yeah, I've got enough room to do it, and I just tidied up. There's a bit more room now, so maybe I will get out the VR stuff. But I feel like if I start making VR tutorials, then people will be like, but what about the multiplayer tutorials? And, you know, I find it hard to like stick to one thing when there's so many new interesting things to do.
Do you feel like you've put yourself in a corner on YouTube where you like can only do a certain amount of things?
No, because I have changed before, like what I've done. I've always done Unity, like as a broad thing. I want to do loads of Unity stuff, but because Unity itself has so many different things you can do, and if you go through all the different Unity content creators, they're so different. So I remember when I started, I did loads of videos on like RPG related mechanics because I liked playing RPG, so I did stuff on quests and inventories and whatever things you'd expect in an RPG, and I did loads of tutorials and that kind of stuff. And yet again, if I looked back at them now, I'd probably cringe at how bad they are, and I would do it so differently now, but it is what it is. And then I've done stuff on like design principles, various things. Like I've done a video on interfaces, like as in C# interfaces, code interfaces, and I've done videos on inheritance, and then kind of like programming, like what you'd expect in school, right? Programming tutorials, but in Unity. Just like how you've kind of said like maths tutorials, but in Unity as like games. Like how to like gamify certain topics that would normally be kind of boring to learn just on their own. I've done so many different kinds of videos, and in the last year I've done a lot on multiplayer, and people have really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it too. So it's not like I'm doing it just because other people want me to, but at the same time there are other things I'm interested in that I want to do videos on. So I'm not going to just drop doing multiplayer. I'm definitely going to keep doing it, but I also want to squeeze in other types of videos in there. And I don't know if that means I should do more videos or whether I should kind of just alternate. Because the more videos you try and fit in a week, then the worse quality they become because you just get less time to prepare and stuff. And some of the things I want to do now with like, because you say you give a month to do a video, and like when I actually do a video, the entire recording and editing doesn't take very long because my videos aren't very edited. They're just tutorials, work on this, cut it together, here's the final product. And it's all in Unity. I don't need to get out a camera and like mix things together and do like wacky editing to make it entertaining because it's tutorial. People don't come for entertainment. But at the same time, if I'm doing like what I've been doing recently with multiplayer, I've done how to make the game, but multiplayer games have so much more than just the game. There's the online services. How do you store the player's data, authentication, dedicated servers, all this like matchmaking, all the extra things that are on top of that. And like that's stuff that I've maybe messed with before, but I'm not confident enough to teach it yet. So I'm having to spend time making little demos of that and messing around with it and making sure I can present it in a teachable way. And that takes longer than a normal video to make. So I'm saying, like, I know I've mentioned I want to do a video on matchmaking. Don't expect it next Tuesday. Like, it might be 3 weeks on Tuesday, 10 weeks. Nah, not 10 weeks, but yeah, people need to just understand it will take time to do those things. Also, just before I hand it back over to you, Tanter, we just got a donation from In and Out again. He's always here every stream, or they are always here every stream. Would you consider inviting Laszlo? Oh, I think either he's asked this before or someone's asked this before. The creator of Bolt. You know Bolt, the visual scripting solution that Unity acquired? Yeah, I think he is I said the creator of that. I don't know if he works for Unity now that Unity have acquired it. I don't know the whole situation there, but yeah, I've got like a list somewhere of like people I wrote out once, like these are the people I'd be interested in getting on stream, and I keep adding to it and modifying it. So I will actually write down his name. Wait, I'll write it down after stream. Or Mick, you can write it down. He's in chat. He'll write it down.
Have you used the Bolt before?
Yeah, I actually what happened? So obviously I mainly do coding, so
yeah, I was thinking, yeah,
I wasn't like that much into visual scripting, but I thought I wanted to give it a go, so I tried. And I know there's like Playmaker as well. There's other ones that people use, and I wanted to try Bolt. I think I'd heard of Bolt, and then I was like, nah, I don't need it. I code. I'm fine. And then Unity did the announcement that they were acquiring it, and I was kind of like, that's interesting. Maybe it'll be more interesting to me now. And I got myself a copy of Bolt and used it, and then realized like it's good for what it is, but it's not what I need, I guess. Like I can see it being useful to people because I've tried out Unreal and the Blueprint system. Now I'm only speaking of Bolt from how it was when I tried it, because I know now it's being developed more and it's, you know, continuing to be developed by, I think it's by the same people, but in collaboration with Unity, because Unity own it, they manage it. I'm not sure how that all works, but like there were some issues I had with it, which was annoying, like the speed when you start typing into the like finder for the nodes you're looking for and stuff. I just found that kind of slow when I already know class names and function names in my head, so I can just go into code and type it and it's immediate, right? Or IntelliSense is like lightning fast. That was like kind of slow, and then I'm like plugging it in, and I have to think differently about how you pass the data around. Like I find in a script, I know already when I'm going in what should be like private variables in the class, what should be like temporary variables in the method, what the method should be, and how I should write. I already just know that all going in. When with Bolt, I'm looking at like, all right, wait a minute, how do I convert this into a graph and like plug it all together? And yeah, I feel like it's a weird way to go back to visual scripting when you know how to code. But
I really like the node-based stuff when it comes to graphics, right? So you have shader graph, new thing, and it was like I got started with node-based stuff. You might have not heard it, but there is this 3D program called Rhino.
Nope.
And it has a bunch. Well, it's a 3D modeling program, so I use it at school. And it has a bunch of plugins. It's all animal based. So there's one plugin called Grasshopper, which makes is used to make 3D models based on a bunch of rules. Parametrically modeling is it called. So you can, it's like visual scripting, but you're just making like points and lines and shapes, and then you make a 3D model based on all these rules. And I found it really intuitive to work that way. And then when I got in Blender, the whole shader, the whole material setup is also in nodes.
Yeah.
And then I got further in that, and I really feel like you get really quick feedback, and you really know what you're doing, and you can do all kinds of things with these nodes. So I think for certain applications, the node system is really, really good to like really get going and really visually solve your problems. When it comes to really coding with text, like really using the code, I think it can be kind of slower to work, and you have to think a lot of it. But I think when you're starting out, it's like Scratch basically, right?
Yeah.
So when you're starting out, it's a really good way to understand the concept of how to code, right? So I think it's a really good way that a good thing that Unity bought Bolt so they can implement it and like be like the blueprint system from Unreal.
Yeah.
Where they have, where they can, like, people who are just starting out can more easily create stuff. Maybe it's a little bit more like simplified, and you can't really do anything with it. But for people who are just starting out, I think it's just works good enough, right? And then everything that you need is in there. And then when you really get further along and you're kind of getting more comfortable with coding and doing all this stuff, I think you can then dive into the text-based stuff and really speed up your workflow.
Yeah, when I was streaming with Joyce last week, and we discussed a lot about shader graph, because she says that she prefers to code the shaders, but when she's doing it on stream or for the channel or putting it on Twitter or Patreon, whatever, she always does shader graph because that's what people want to see for the most part. But like if she's doing something just purely for herself, she'll write it out. And I wonder if it's the same thing, because like as someone who programs, I much prefer coding, and I see the visual thing as a slower way. But when I look at shaders, I'm like an outsider here. I'm not a shader developer.
Yeah.
I think like even as an expert shader developer, wouldn't you prefer shader graph? Because even though it might be a little bit slower to like do it, you get the visual output to every node to see what you're building up. There's not really an equivalent in coding, because it's not like with a shader, it's you plug it all in, you get this final material. With code, you don't get that. You just have like here's logic, and it is yet to be executed and work and do stuff. So yeah, even though I don't like Bolt really, and it's not that I don't like Bolt, I personally don't think there's a use in it for me. I have tried using it for like other applications than writing logic, because I've always thought like, well, what if in your game you have abilities, and then your game has hundreds of abilities, or like you got tons of different things, or items that do slightly different logic. I'm always against the whole, oh, just make a class for every single one that has a logic for them all, because then you either get into a mess of a like inheritance tree, because you're like, well, this item's food, and then this item's an apple, and this item's some other food, and they both inherit from food, and they work the same way, but then you get this other type of food that also does something else, and then now you've just got this mess. And I've seen it enough on the Unity forums, people talking about design ideas and like how to architect that kind of stuff. And what I imagine would be the best idea is like every item would have its own kind of graph of logic, so that you can very easily go into that item and just quickly change it around. I feel like that's much better than having like a separate script, like class per object in your game, because you might have like hundreds of objects in your game. But I'm thinking these like big MMOs and stuff, they have like thousands or tens of thousands of items. How do they store all that, and how do they store like what every item does? And if they want to make a new item that does 5 different things, how much of a pain is that for them to do? Like, is that really easy? I imagine it should be, once you've got that many items. So that's where I think like there are definitely times where me as a programmer, I would like to use a visual tool, not for coding logic, but for example dialogue. I would like code a dialogue system, and I'd like a dialogue tree. I don't want to hard code the dialogues in the game, because that's not very intuitive. You want to see the tree branching out, or there'll be other applications of nodes and graphs, just maybe not the actual programming logic itself. I think that's
then you more thinking in the ways of the animator system, right? When you have these rules and you move from
state machines.
Yeah. So I think the visual way of thinking really has this these advantages when you're really working with states and like different graphical things. But I already said that. So I think for me, I really like the evolution that we're going more visual based note system in our coding system for stuff that really benefits from it. But of course, the text-based stuff is never going to go away. And I think when you're really comfortable with it, I think still, of course, the best way, because you have all the freedom in the world and you can type whatever you want.
Yeah. I know we addressed the donation earlier, but I never said thank you. So thanks for the donation in and out. I think I might have said it, but I want to make sure. I don't want to just forget about it and
of course
not acknowledge that. Yeah, what other questions do you have? So we already answered about what's the favorite game / project. So in 5 years, do you see Robo Royale having worldwide tournaments?
No.
You want to just leave it where it is? Oh, no, you said you want to add some new game modes to it, or you want to do some more stuff with it.
But I'm really quickly bored of things. So I think this is like Robo Royale is like my third priority in the chain of YouTube things. So I'm first always thinking about my next video and next project, because a lot of time when I finished it, I imagine it's with you as well, when I finished the video, the stuff that I made is like it's in the cloud, it's on GitHub, and then I just forget about it.
Yep.
And then I use the stuff that I made that I think is handy, and I pick it up and I put it in a new project. So Robo Royale is the first game that I actually like kept alive past the release of the video, mostly because it's like multiplayer based, right? So you have this community that you create around the game. But I don't think I'm gonna really like make it like a very big Fortnite equivalent game where everyone is just going on. But maybe if I never say never, of course.
Yeah.
5 years is a long time, and maybe something strange happens and suddenly 1,000 people at the same time want to play my fantastic game that I made, and then I have to organize tournaments, of course, because then everyone can get together. But I think for the meantime, I'm just gonna make some more fun little projects and make Robo Royale a little bit more fun on the long run, having small updates more sporadically. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna fill giant stadiums with Robo Royale fans, but never say never, of course.
You never know. Yeah, if I think back to like videos I made 2 years ago, like my first videos, at the time I probably really enjoyed it, and if I look back now, I'm like, when someone suggests that I continue doing that kind of thing, like, oh yeah, just make the next video of this type of thing, I'm like, one, I probably don't have it anymore, or like it's from like 3 years ago in Unity versions or something. It's like, I'm gonna leave that to die. It's like,
yeah, sometimes it's better to leave your
yeah. Because another thing is, I don't want people thinking like, if I haven't done a video on a particular topic, that they then can't make that thing. The entire idea with coding is it's all about like reusing or learning how to problem solve. So you can watch a video on a certain topic or certain type of game, and once you know how to do that, you can then apply that into a different genre of game. Like, I've never taught how to make like a card game, but I'm hoping from my tutorials people can learn how to make a card game. Like, they can at least give it a go and get somewhere with it, because different genres of games pretty much always use the same like components, just maybe arranged in a different way, or it's always using the same fundamental things. As long as you know about colliders, rigid bodies, game objects, prefabs, like all these buzzwords and things, like you can make most things. You know how to spawn in an object, destroy an object, like store variables, drag things in, get reference. Like, just as long as you know those fundamentals, and then you think of a game, it's then the challenge is, how do you go from the idea to like, how do I make it work? I always get can you do an FPS tutorial? Can you do this tutorial? Can you do that tutorial? And I mean, to answer that question, I think I have done FPS stuff in the past, at least briefly, but I've learned from my mistakes, and I try and avoid doing tutorials where we build a certain type of game, because they can go on very, very long. I can get bored soon, and then if I get bored by episode 5, if I do want to continue, I'm not as enthusiastic, so they're probably not going to be as good. Yeah. So it's not as good for me, it's not as good for the person, and in the end, I prefer doing the more standalone videos. They generally do better on YouTube. People enjoy them more, which goes hand in hand with how it performs on YouTube. It's how people enjoy it. So people enjoy the kind of standalone 15-minute videos, not the welcome to part 15, this tutorial where we'll be making this mechanic. And then if someone sees that video pop up on their feed, they're like, wait, this is number 20, but I haven't even started number 1. Well, I'm not going to watch this video because I have to watch all the ones before it. So I think, it's much better to be like, even for multiplayer tutorials I've done, I do very separate videos, not like, oh, but this is like the third part of that thing. And that's the good thing where keeping them short and simple, like the character creation one, you don't need anything to begin with that. Like technically you do, because I at the start had a character model imported with like some basic animations, and I had a movement script on it, but the movement script was literally just like forwards, backwards, left and right. There's no jumping, there's no converting from where the camera's looking to walk relative to that. It's just literally walking forwards, walks in the forwards of the world. Just that wasn't the focus of the video, so it doesn't matter even if you don't have any movement code, because it's just about choosing a character and having it spawn in. So yeah, I try and avoid series type content, and if I do, I keep them down to like 2 or 3 episodes, because I would rather have 2 or 3 short videos than one like an hour-long video if it's a complex topic.
Yeah,
yeah. So the thing to take away from that is, some things should stay dead, and Robo Royale is probably not going to be in stadiums in 5 years' time.
I'm not counting on it. Let's just say it like that, right?
Yeah.
If someone else wants to organize a tournament, I'm not stopping you, of course. You can always link to my Discord and then please on there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's getting close to 8. Should we just quick fire through some questions, just to get through a bunch of them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what do we have there? When did you start making games or coding?
I started 4 years ago at school, making AR games with architecture stuff.
Okay, because you studied architecture, or
yes.
Something else specifically, or was it architecture?
It's engineering architecture.
Okay, yeah.
I learned about buildings, but I was like, I want to learn about digital buildings, and so I've always been a computer nerd, but I only like started coding. Well, actually, it's funny because I started working with Unity before I could code, right? So I started making AR games, but it's not really games, it's just
projects, yeah.
Projects where I just put a building on an image, and when you watch the image with your phone, the building pops off.
Yeah.
So I got into digital or AR projects that way, and then I moved through my career by choosing subjects that are involving a lot more digital creation, and then that way I learned how to code and really learned how to work with Unity. And then by the end I graduated, I knew how everything worked, and I can do make games basically, right?
Yeah, well there you go. We actually got another donation from In and Out, so thanks for the $5. And is it ever necessary to use unsafe code in your projects? Now, by unsafe code, do you mean like there's a keyword unsafe that I think like I've seen in C++ before, and I think it exists in C#, but I've never used it, and I don't know what it even is to do about. Honestly,
me neither.
I've avoided it. If you meant something other than that, like, yeah, what do you mean by unsafe? Do you mean code that you get and you don't know what it does because you haven't read through it, and you're just hoping it's not? It's
secretly a virus thing.
Yeah. But
the things I always worry about is personal information that can be leaked. That you have to input through code, right? When you're like API keys or stuff.
Yeah. So is it ever?
Sometimes when I first make my prototype, I just write down the API key as a string in my script. But of course, if I put it on GitHub, then the API key is on GitHub. So I always have to think about like choosing what kind of stuff I commit, and how I can like evade these problems of getting your personal information out there.
Yeah, they're on about the unsafe keywords to use pointers like you do in C++. Well, the question, is it ever necessary to use it? Put it this way, I've never used it. So
no, me neither.
I'm going to say it's not necessary.
I haven't heard of it, and I've done fine so far, so don't worry about it.
Yes, I've heard of it, and I've done like a tiny bit of stuff in C++, but I never delved into it because I never found a need to. So I don't say it's I wouldn't say it's necessary. So I don't know what you use it for. You probably know more than me if you're asking about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, yeah, considering it's called unsafe, it's probably not really safe to use, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like you're saying you're taking control about.
Cause like things that you're not really supposed to do, and only use it when you really know what you're doing.
Yeah, because I think the point is like you can do it in C++. In C#, it tries to protect you from a lot of that lower level stuff. But you can use the unsafe keyword to say, no, I want to do this thing that I normally can't do because you're protecting me from it. So yeah, again, I'll say I don't think it's necessary because I've never done it, but yeah, maybe it's got uses. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, what other questions can we quickly fire through? Okay, I think some of these are already kind of answered in other questions. Will you be trying out our games when you want a live stream, for example, would be nice, or how about a game jam of your own?
I want to host a game jam this summer, I think.
I tried hosting one when I had like 1,000 subscribers, and like some people said, "Oh yeah, I'll be up for it," and then no one ever did it. I was like, "Yeah, that was a bit short-sighted. Like, I should wait until I've got a bigger audience to do that kind of thing." And even in like when Brackies did game jams, quite a lot of people turned up, or like submitted, but it was less than what I thought. Like even for a huge audience, it's a very, very small percentage who can, for example, dedicate the time at that point to do it anyway. So, if I do one, or if you do one, it's like, don't go in expecting tons of people to do it. Like, if like 20 people do it, I'm like happy at this point. Like,
well, honestly, I'm happy if just one guy does it, right?
Yeah.
Because then it means she has spent all their time throughout the whole week to make something. Because I said so.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have any high standards, but I really like game jams because they allow you to really focus on the things that are important to finish a game, right? So you go from start to finish. You have everything. You need to think about everything, but you only have a little bit of time, so you need to think everything fast. And the more game jams you do, the better you get it, of course. And then that translates to your actual games, because you're going to be much faster at making games and getting some stuff out there, and again, you can make much more because you're just much faster. So I think game jams are a really good way to learn project scoping and time management, both are very important skills in life outside of game dev as well, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. I can never push myself to finish a project when it's just something I do in my own time. When it's a game jam, I actually complete something and submit it because the time pressure helps. And I think the topic of game jams has come up a lot on these live streams. And yeah, I think I do want to do one in the future, but at the same time, I know that if you look on itch at there's a timeline for game jams going on. There's like always a game jam going on. So I always think like, is it really a benefit in me doing it? Like, I guess it's cool for like to see what the community makes, and you can review what your community made. So if I did it, it would be quite small scale, and I'd have to think about it more, but I definitely do want to do one. But I might do it as a kind of like 50,000 sub special or whatever, right? Like, might keep it for something in the future when we're at a certain size, and like for an occasion where we can like build up to it and announce like, at this mark, we're going to do this. Be ready for it. We're going to, do a game jam, and I'll do videos covering the games and stuff. So I do want to do it in the future at some point. What else have we got? How long does your average video take to make? I mean, you said a month, right? Or like you give yourself a month between them?
At the beginning, I made every video every other week, I think. And then I had to combine that with my studies, of course. But of course, I was only doing my thesis, master project. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, thesis.
So I had time enough to make the game, so I could spend like 6 hours a day or something making those little projects. But as time went on, the scope of my project really increased, and right now I also have a lot less time because I have some extra work to do. So my schedule has shifted a bit to be more spread out, and so basically how the time in between videos is the amount of time that I took to make the video. So as soon as one video ends, I'm working on the next one, and as soon as it's done, I post it. So you can see from the timeline when I post the videos how long it took to make that video.
Yeah, I guess for me, I mean, I do personally a video a week, and now we've got Mick doing a video each week on electronics while I'm doing Unity stuff. And like I give myself a week between videos just to space out and have time to think about what I'm doing. But the video doesn't actually take a week to make. I don't like finish a video and then I'm working nonstop until the next one's released. I'd say the video, yeah, again, completely depends on what the topic is. Some videos I come up with the idea and I already know how to make it. Some things I have to go research and make demos and like, you know, plan a lot more. So I usually, if I'm gonna plan a video, I set like a day to do that video. Like I'll give myself that day and I'll spend that day doing like from the start of making a new Unity project to the end, like hopefully having something ready to teach. And then usually the next day I'll do the recording and editing. Like if the video is 20 minutes or like 15 minutes, if the video is 15 minutes, the recording's maybe 25 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. Because the only things I have to cut out are just me slipping up on words or like, you know, pauses between cuts because it's just a tutorial. So I know so many people I've spoken to saying like, how do you make a video in like the day? Like how do you wake up like without a video and then end with the video? It's like, because my video editing is so simple. It is.
Yeah, I mean, I basically spend like a whole day even writing the script, right? So
I don't have a script for any of my videos, yeah.
Especially because English isn't my first language, and I always try to, I try to put as much information as possible in time, like keep it really dense. So I go over a couple of script revisions for myself, right? So I start one day and I write script, and then a couple of days later I return to it to see what kind of stuff I can add or remove. And then of course the you have to make the whole game, and then you make the whole video, right? And all these extra footage. I think I've made it myself very difficult to make videos by the style that I chose, but I think in the end it's all worth it because it's really fun to make and people seem to like it. So it might not really be the most time efficient thing to do, especially because like you guys, you can make a video in a couple of days. But I think for me personally, I think I would get more satisfaction of finishing like a big project and then putting it out there. But of course that's not for everyone, right? So you really need, if you really want to have some, because it's been 1 year and I've made I think a couple of hours of footage, which isn't really a whole lot, right?
Yeah, if I want to do like a bigger project, I would like do it between videos just on the side, so it'll get done. But I don't like, if I finish a video and then decide the next video is going to be a big one that I'm working on, it won't necessarily be the next video. I'll have like more shorter videos, so I keep doing, I'm trying to keep to a consistent schedule of a video a week for like my Unity video on Tuesdays. But if I have a bigger idea that I've told people like, yeah, I'm going to do a video on matchmaking and like spinning up instances of a server when people connect and then matching them to that, like it's a bit more advanced. Like I could do that in the week, but I'd have to drop everything else to like spend time working on that and making it a good video. I'd rather do it on the side for like 3 or 4 weeks, still bringing out, you know, a tutorial each week, and then maybe 3 tutorials into the future, you'll get that like more advanced one that took me a lot longer to make. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep into a good schedule because I started to get like a bit lazy, or I'd leave it till like an hour or 2 hours before I want to upload a video, and I'll start making it, and I'll be like recording and editing it into the night, and then I'm like, releasing a video in the night's not a good idea because, you know, when a video's out, that's when like you want it to be a good time, because apparently, you know, videos get most of their views at the start and YouTube pushes it more when they are released. So if you release it in the middle of the night, then you've wasted that. So I try and release it kind of like afternoon to evening time. So if I did finish making it in the night, then I'd have to wait all the way till next evening, like next day, before I actually publish it. And you know, I just like when I've made a video to release it, I don't want to have to wait ages, because you've got this video you want to show to people, but you're like, but it's probably better to wait till that hour. So, yeah, do you have like a time in the day you release, or do you just release when it's ready, like as soon as
I always release my videos at 4 o'clock in the for my time. So 4 p.m.
4 p.m. your
So
time
3
is
p.m.
3
your
p.m.
time.
Yeah.
Because that's the time when most people are online. You can see the in the analytics, right? You can see when people are online in your audience section, and it turns out that a lot of people start coming at 4 and then at 5 and I think at 6 it's like when most people are online, and then it starts going down a bit. So I just post right before then, and then people watch it. But my videos tend to really have like a very steady growth. It's not really like, so sometimes they get some spikes, but when I release a video, I get like a couple hundred views at the first hour, and then it's down, right? And then but it seems to never really fall flat, right? So you get this steady increase of videos, and then every now and then when a video that I make does really well, you see that all the other videos get a little boost as well.
Yeah,
you can see it's really YouTube works in very interesting ways.
Yeah, it depends on the content, because like I do tutorials. It's not like viral video. I release it, and it's not going to go whoop, like spike up. You know, that it might be a video that people are wanting to see. Usually it'll do like you say, it'll go up quite quickly because it's just been released, and it'll just kind of slow down. Like it'll still steadily increase, but then maybe like something will happen where maybe like there'll be an update to something, or like there might be like a new Unity version, and so many more people are Googling Unity, or like they're trying to look up stuff, and then boom, like you can get spikes off those kind of things. But for the most part, it's just like a steady increase after the first day or so, or day or two. That's like the bulk of the views. Apart from, for example, my multiplayer video, my first one when I released it, it was kind of just the same as all the rest. And now I look back and it's my most popular video. I don't know what happened on what day, but it's got the most views. So somewhere it just kind of picked up speed, and I don't know why. Maybe Unity announced something with multiplayer, but like I'm using Mirror, obviously a third-party thing, so it's not, you know, I don't know what caused it to spike up, but something did. And so I'm going with it, you know. People like multiplayer, and I think it's fun to make. I enjoy the like building a client and then like connecting it and watching move on two things. I don't know, even though I've done it so many times now, it's very satisfying to watch.
It's like magic.
Yeah, it's like I press the key and then it happens over there, and yes, it's happening locally on a machine, but in two separate instances, it's still cool. And then I know if I send that build to a friend and I've port forwarded and blah blah blah, like he can connect and it works. So it's cool. Yeah. How many more can we try and get through here? Favorite game that you've made? I swear that one's come up like 3 or 4 times. I'm skipping over some of the questions that would take like ages to answer. About, well, I mean, this one we could do anyway. Like, what does your day look like? What does a normal day look like? You can answer this, because if we both answer, it'll take ages probably. So.
All right. So I'm a freelancer, so I make video games for other people. So I wake up at between 8 and 9, I think. Then I eat breakfast. Very important. Always eat breakfast. I drink a glass of water, and I get behind my desk. I work on the project that I'm working on currently. Sometimes I have a meeting with someone. Sometimes I don't. When it's noon, I like to go for a run, and then I go for a run. And then in the afternoon, if it's busy, then I work some more on my paid projects. And if it's a quiet period, then I work on my personal projects, my YouTube channel. And then I move into the evening and I work some more on my YouTube videos. And then I go to sleep and I do it all again.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds too different. Like,
I try to focus the hard work on the mornings to use my brain power for the important things, and then when I go in the afternoon and I really have some more relaxed projects to work on.
Yeah, I've had periods of like bad sleep schedule and just waking up at weird times and going to sleep at weird times, but at the moment, like I'm in a good schedule. I think I have been since the start of the year, so I have been waking up at like 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that kind of, you know, in the morning. Not actually waking up in the morning, not at like 11 or 12, not like lunchtime. So yeah, like you said, you prefer to do work in the morning. Like same. Yeah. I like to just get the work done while like everyone else that I usually communicate with is at work or busy doing things, so that like by the time it gets to the evening and I've had dinner or whatever, I can like wind down and yep, you need to do the yep.
No, it automatically. So.
Oh, it's automatic. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically just get up, breakfast, work, lunch, work, dinner, play and chill.
Eat, sleep, work, repeat.
Yep, there you go.
Yes.
All right. That might be it pretty much for all the questions. We've already answered how did we start coding, or what, like when did we start. Do you ever want to like work on AAA games, like a studio, or is that not your kind of thing?
No, I'm like a little man of everything. I like to do everything, and I like to. I think when you're doing like this big AAA development, you really have to focus on some stuff that you're good at. But in my life, I've always been interested in a whole bunch of different things. So I like to really keep it that way and really focus on like smaller projects that are manageable by one person, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like I agree, but I might be up for like trying it at some point, or at least getting a feel of what it's like there. Not to like ever commit to it. It's not like an end goal. It's not like I want to strive towards working at a AAA company, but I feel like it'd be interesting to see what it's like. Maybe I'll see what it's like and then not like it, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Because as much as I like indie stuff and having a go at everything, I also know I'm not good at most things. I'm good at a few things, but not most things. So yeah. It would be kind of nice to be on a team where you do your thing and you do it well, and you're with other people who can do the other things well. I'm bad at animation, modeling, 2D art, anything. But if I had people on a team who are really good at it, and like we could bring that all together, like the coding and then the art and then like actually make something really cool. I don't know. I think it would be good. Yeah, again, that's just speculation. I don't know if I'd actually enjoy it, but yeah.
Well, you're still young, right? You have plenty of time. Don't worry.
You're saying that like you're not. So I'm 20.
Well, I mean, a lot of people that I met in the game dev space are like all students, and they're all like around your age. And then I got started when I was even older than you are now. So I always feel like an old guy. But then I look at the world and I see I'm only 25 and I have the rest of my life before me. So I don't really worry about it. But I like to make funny remarks to younger people how they're still very young.
Yeah. I can't really do that at my age, but maybe in like a few years' time I can start saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you're never too young to start saying you're old.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
There are always younger people that you can say, in my time, it was always better.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. So we'll wrap it up there. I do want to mention, though, that about an hour or two ago, well, no, probably like 2 or 3 hours ago now, before the stream, we released a video that Mick made, Mick in chat, on electronics. So like we've mentioned through the stream, I think I do Unity videos every Tuesday. He's trying to do electronics videos every Thursday from now. And along with that, we have a little web shop. The link will be in the description to that video with those electronics videos. So if you want to follow along with the project that we're making the tutorial for, you can then get the parts there if you want to. So just thought I'd mention that. Go check out the video after the stream. Also, go check out Jelle's social media. It'll be below the stream. It'll be in the chat because Mick's going to spam it any second now, probably.
You guys, you need to follow me on Twitter. I only have 50 followers and I don't know what to put on it, but I need more street cred. Thank you. Yeah,
we were discussing that before the stream. You said you need to use Twitter more, so let's see. People go blow up his Twitter, and mine too, please. If you'll hear from your community. I was very late to Twitter. I had the channel now for like nearly 3 years. I've only had Twitter for like 1 or less, so I don't know why I made it so late. But there you go. Mick is linking everything if you want to go check those out.
Here you go.
Is that everything? I think that is everything. So yeah, thanks for watching number 13. See, nothing went bad. The lucky number 13 didn't mess anything up. So
thank God.
Yeah. I don't yet have the announcement of who is next week. who's on next week. But yeah, we should be doing next Thursday at the same time. So just keep checking back on the channel. I'll put up a notification, a stream schedule page for that when it's ready. So yeah, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being on the stream. All of you in chat and Jelle too. Thanks Mick for helping
thank you
out.
for having me. It was a really fun time. It was my first live stream, and I felt like I did pretty good. So
you did do
I'm
pretty
proud of
good.
myself.
There you go.
I'm proud of myself.
Give yourself a pat on the back. Okay.
Good job,
yeah.
Jelle. The pressure is off. Right now, I'm going to become a full-time live streamer on Twitch and stream Minecraft speedruns every day. Follow me there.
You're saying that about Danny? Like that's what he's done, right? He's just gone to live stream Minecraft all the time.
It's a much more lucrative job, I think, than YouTube videos.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was the outro. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you there next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.